Hey, welcome to another edition of the ADP show brought to you by all of us over at dynastyleaguefootball.com. I'm Dan Myler. With me, as always, Ryan McDowell. How are you doing today, Ryan?
Doing well over here. Once again, ready to take another look at this ADP data. We're going to hit some Superflex this week, Dan.
Yeah, let's do it. New July Superflex ADP is out over at DLF. Click over to dynastyleaguefootball.com. Get that subscription. You can get all this data. But we're going to go through some of the rookies, the hot rookies that all of us want on our rosters. We're going to compare them, the top 6, 8, 10 guys, whatever, to the guys that are right around them, according to this July Superflex startup ADP. And we might as well start, Ryan, right at the top with Jonathan Taylor. This is an interesting one because he's the first rookie off the board, according to this ADP. And the guys right around him, pretty intriguing to Dynasty owners. A couple of wide receivers, DJ Moore, a spot ahead of him, and then Julio Jones, a spot behind him. Tell me, if you're on the clock in your Superflex startup, who do you prefer if those are your three options?
Well, it's an interesting conversation right off the bat because I think I can speak for most Dynasty players and say it's a surprise to see Jonathan Taylor as the first rookie selected in a Superflex startup draft. You might think it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You might think it's Joe Burrow, depending on which position you want to focus on. I know you're a big JT fan, and he edges out Clyde Edwards-Helaire here as the first rookie drafted in our data. And as you mentioned, stuck between a couple of wide receivers who are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum. You got DJ Moore, that young wide receiver. We think he's going to be the next top 5 Dynasty wide receiver for years to come. That's the expectation of many. And of course, we have Julio Jones right behind him, who has done just that for years. But now he's around 30 years old, 30, 31. We're starting to maybe become concerned and worried about how much longer he can perform. I think this is a slam dunk. First of all, that I'm taking one of the young guys. I'm not taking Julio in this range. We're talking second, third round of a startup draft. No way am I using that pick on Julio Jones as one of my cornerstone players. Between the two young guys, DJ Moore and Jonathan Taylor, certainly close. I'm a big DJ Moore fan. He's up to my wide receiver 3 in my wide receiver rankings. I'm going to take DJ Moore over Jonathan Taylor, just as our mock draft participants did. But I agree with them. It's a close call.
It is a close call, and for a little frame of reference, I think you mentioned it there quickly, Ryan. This is right at the end of that second round. We're talking about the 23rd, 24th, and 25th players off the board in this July Superflex startup ADP. I agree with you, Ryan. I'm taking DJ Moore as well. The one thing is, it depends on roster construction. Most likely, if you're down there, you got one of those stud running backs. You're talking about Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley, and you waited all this time. I wouldn't blame somebody with going with Jonathan Taylor, getting their hands on 2 stud running backs because of the depth at the wide receiver position. It's a nice problem to have, I guess, whether you're getting DJ Moore or Jonathan Taylor. Let's just move a couple of picks down because Julio Jones is part of the next one as well. You mentioned Clyde Edwards-Helaire, probably raised a few eyebrows that he wasn't the first rookie off the board according to this ADP. He's just a couple picks below Jonathan Taylor, sandwiched between Julio Jones and veteran tight end Travis Kelce. So I think reading the tea leaves from earlier, you're probably passing on Julio. Is Travis Kelce and the positional advantage that you could get with him for the next few years enough to entice you away from Clyde?
I'm going to try not to pick the youngest player in every case. I guess I didn't do that on the first one. I went with the 2-year veteran DJ Moore. But it's tough to pass on these rookies. And I already talked about Jones. He's over 30 years old. Looked at Travis Kelce, same story with him as an aging player. I don't think he's near the end. And in fact, I don't think either one of those guys are done putting up elite years for us. But I'm still taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire here as as a guy already being valued as a PPR RB1, a top 12 running back, similar situation to Taylor, I'm taking Clyde over these two old guys, Julio Jones and Travis Kelce.
Yeah, what a start to a Superflex startup if you're trying to build around non-quarterbacks, really. We talked about maybe Saquon Barkley in the first and DJ Moore at the end of the second, then come right around to get Clyde in the third, and you got some youth and you got a lot of upside for sure. But we gotta get to the quarterback at some point. And luckily enough, here at the end of the third round, we talk about Joe Burrow. He's 36th. According to this ADP, we're talking super flex. So Burrow's going to be in that third, maybe the fourth round. He's sandwiched between a couple of third and fourth year type running backs, Leonard Fournette at 35 and Aaron Jones at 37. So again, trying to stay away from just picking the rookie, the young guy, Ryan. It's difficult to take Fournette. It's difficult to take Jones, considering their situations. Not thinking about how you're constructing your team, it's pretty easy to lean towards Burrow in this one as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. I've got a couple of biases here. Not only do I build my teams typically around young players, but I build my Superflex teams around quarterbacks. So
Right.
Early in drafts, I'm always looking for quarterbacks. And if they're rookie quarterbacks, top overall pick, and have the resume that Joe Burrow does, it becomes a pretty easy pick. And I did just want to talk about real quickly, we see Burrow here as the third rookie drafted in this Superflex startup mock draft ADP. If you look at our Superflex rookie ADP, you'll see him atop the list as the 101. And if you've done a Superflex rookie draft, that's probably where you saw him drafted. The difference here is we see the rookie quarterbacks devalued just a little bit in startup drafts because the choices become so vast. You don't have to focus on the rookie quarterbacks when you can take Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes early. You can wait on veterans like Matthew Stafford or Matt Ryan. So a lot of times this is what we'll see, even though Joe Burrow might be the near unanimous 101 in rookie drafts. When you transfer that data over to startup drafts, even in a Superflex league, Burrow falls, Tua falls, and we see that every year.
Yeah, and maybe some value there for sure, and an opportunity that dynasty owners in these startups could take advantage of. Just a couple picks after Burrow comes another running back, J.K. Dobbins at 38 overall. He's sandwiched between Jones, once again, Aaron Jones of the Packers, and then another tight end, Mark Andrews. We passed on Travis Kelce earlier. Andrews, just 23 years old, had that elite breakout season in 2019. Is that enough to entice you away from his new teammate, J.K. Dobbins?
It's close. It's close. I do value him. In fact, not only as the top 3 tight end, I think most people are there with Mark Andrews now. I would prefer him over Travis Kelce, given the age. Andrews is maybe not in quite as good of a situation as Travis Kelce there in Kansas City, but pretty close in Baltimore, paired with that young quarterback, just as Kelce is. I still can't go away from the stud running back. I hate to be boring and just grab these young guys every time, but I have high expectations for J.K. Dobbins. I think he would be the RB1 in almost any other rookie class. He ran into a buzzsaw here with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jonathan Taylor, and he might be the best RB3 we've seen in any time I've been playing fantasy football.
Absolutely. There's another running back that dynasty owners are excited about getting their hands on in these startup drafts, and that's Cam Akers. I think we might be able to entice you away from the rookie this time, potentially. As those of you that follow Ryan on Twitter, you know that he coined the phrase anything for Amari. Amari Cooper comes in at 42, followed by Cam Akers at 43, then Odell Beckham Jr. at 44. What do you say, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going to break the streak here. I'll take Amari Cooper. And in fact, I think I would take Odell Beckham over Cam Akers as well. So the rookie comes up third this time. It's just a preference at this point of the draft to focus on wide receivers. I think you can wait in the first 2-3 rounds because guys like Amari Cooper and Odell Beckham are falling to that late third, that fourth, sometimes even the fifth round range, especially in super flex leagues when you've got the quarterbacks, so many of them jumping into that top 25 range. Honestly, I'm surprised to see Cam Akers here. He's the fifth rookie drafted, and that's a little higher than I'm comfortable with him. So I'm going Amari Cooper here.
Yeah, I'd go Cooper as well and agree that OBJ would be the second choice of that group of three. Nothing against Cam Akers, of course, but like you mentioned there, he doesn't necessarily fit in the group. Another guy around him, A.J. Brown right ahead of Amari Cooper, that'd be an easy slam dunk pick. Then Calvin Ridley right below Odell Beckham Jr. I'd rather have Ridley as well. Speaking of Ridley, he's one of the two wide receivers surrounding DeAndre Swift. Ridley's 45. DeAndre Swift is 46, and then Cooper Kupp at 47. So we're talking about the end of the fourth round now, Ryan. If these are the guys that you're considering, are you going with the rookie running back, or are these wide receivers, like you said earlier, with Cooper and Beckham, are they too much to pass up?
Well, first of all, just seeing these options makes me want to jump in another Superflex startup draft to be able to get guys like Ridley or Cooper or Swift late in the fourth round is it's pretty exciting. I'm taking Calvin Ridley here. I agree with you. I would not only take him over DeAndre Swift, but over Cam Akers as well. They're all kind of bunched in there, as you mentioned. Honestly, I prefer Swift to Cam Akers still at this point. So again, as I mentioned, surprised to see Cam Akers so high. Ridley has been one of the players really talked about quite a bit this offseason. Seems like everybody is expecting him to take that next step in production. And maybe this is the year that he actually does overtake Julio Jones as the top option. I know it's hard to imagine that, but we've seen it in past years. Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne come to mind, that duo that Wayne was the 1B or the wide receiver 2 for so long. And then we finally saw him eclipse Marvin Harrison. Maybe this is the year that it's Ridley and Julio switching spots.
Yeah, maybe not even in production on the field, but it might happen in this ADP with Dynasty owners where just the age outweighs and the production picks up for Ridley. For sure. Let's talk about another quarterback. We're talking about Tua Tagovailoa, of course. He comes in at 53, surrounded by one quarterback, Baker Mayfield, at 52, and then aging receiver, going to be 30 years old, Adam Thielen at 54. Which way do you want to go with this one, Ryan?
This is an easy one for me. I just took Tua at 1.02 in a Superflex rookie draft that Dan, you and I are both in, actually. That was a tough choice at 102, but if these are the players I'm considering, Baker Mayfield, Adam Thielen, that would not be a tough choice for me. I'm going back to the rookies here and taking Tua.
Let's get through two more before we get out of here, Ryan. We got to move down the board just a little bit, and we're going to run across one of the probably the top wide receivers that are coveted in this class. CeeDee Lamb comes in at 67. He's surrounded by running back James Conner at 66. And then Robert Woods, another guy that people have big expectations for this year, especially in the redraft community. What do you think here? Lamb, Woods, or Conner?
Well, it's really between the wide receivers. It's between Lamb and Woods. James Conner is not really a consideration for me, even at this point. If I'm going into this part of the draft with maybe only one running back, I still can't choose Conner over these talents. Lamb, the young guy that we have big hopes for, or that steady, proven production of Robert Woods. I'm going to cop out a little bit and say it probably is team specific. If I feel like I've got that team through 4, 5, 6 rounds that can contend and can be one of the best teams in the league, it's tough to pass on Robert Woods. You can stick him in your lineup every week and get that production. But I think in most cases, I'm probably taking, again, the rookie here in CeeDee Lamb.
Woods is followed in ADP at 69 by Jerry Jeudy. So the last choice you have to make today, Robert Woods, Jerry Jeudy, or Raheem Mostert, who comes in at 70. Are we going back to the rookie here too?
We're certainly not going to Raheem Mostert. He does not belong in the conversation with these guys. Just as Connor didn't. And again, it's easy in a vacuum to make that decision or to knock the running back. But think long term when you're making these picks. Raheem Mostert he's just not going to have any value a year from now. Certainly not 2 years from now. And both of these other players, or all of these other players that we're mentioning, Lamb, Judy, Woods, they will. It's really the same conversation. I've got Lamb and Judy back to back in my rookie rankings. They're very closely valued for me. It's kind of a flip of the coin as to which one I prefer. So I would take Judy over Woods just by a hair.
Yeah, it's close, no doubt. There are a whole lot of other rookies that we'd love to talk about, but we try to keep it right around 15 to 20 minutes here, Ryan. So that's going to do it for this episode of the show. Ryan, thanks for joining me as always. Thanks to everybody who watched and listened as well. This has been the ADP Show, brought to you by DynastyLeagueFootball.com. We'll catch you again next week.